Hi everyone, back again with a quick review of the equipment I used on a West Coast trail trip. Show you things I used that worked and things I used that maybe didn't. To start with, I'd like to share the biggest failures of my trip. So I had this idea that I would mount a ram mount on my poles, which I did, and use my slip grip, which I did, to hold my phone, which it did. At the beginning this actually worked fairly well. It saved me having to have a separate selfie stick or something to tape my journey, and my phone fit in it just fine. However, slip grip broke. The little tab that goes on here that holds my phone actually broke off the first day. Wasn't the end of the world. I was able to actually use the duct tape that I always have on my poles, but it wasn't as convenient. It now became a bit of a pain. Also, I'm not convinced that this whole setup was worth it because it's not lighter, but what it did do was make it so I didn't have to pull out another piece, so I may try it again. However, currently not impressed with slip grip, who I have been using for a couple of years with my phone, and they work fantastic. I ride bikes with them with the slip grip, and I use it in my car, but they're saying there's only a 3-month warranty, which I find kind of crappy for a product that has no moving parts, considering your VCR has a year, has a lot more moving parts in it, and this is not a cheap holder. I paid $50 for this holder, so I'm not too impressed with slip grips right now. We will see what happens with that. I have told them I'm not happy with their offer, that if I send it back and give them $15 or send me another one as a Canadian customer, it'll cost me more than a new one will. I can buy the comparable thing now, which I couldn't before, for about $30. So anyway, that was a big fail. The other big fail was not my phone, which is the Samsung S7, which I think is a fantastic phone. I did film a lot on my trip, video and pictures, but what was a problem was I bought a cheap card off Amazon. I think it's called King Memory, 256 gig card, thinking I'd be able to do whatever I wanted with it. Well, that card failed, and it's currently in my computer trying to salvage all my pictures and videos. The card corrupted on day 2, and well, I didn't know it had corrupted on day 2 until I went and looked at it at about day 4. So I only have my last day and a couple of pictures that kind of came out. So I'm hoping I have a program on it now, Czar, trying to fix that. But I can recommend the phone. The phone is fantastic. This phone's waterproof. I've dropped it off some serious stuff. I've got it in a little Spigen case, which works great with a screen protector. Can't say enough about the Samsung phones. If you like Apple, you're a prisoner. Better phone, my opinion. And if you don't like it, change the channel. Other than that, those are the only things that completely failed. What I would say is sort of a fail. Just before I left, I bought this Bogey off Amazon towel. It's not a fail. It's a very good towel. It's very sturdy. I think it's a bit heavy. That said, I'm also wondering if I wash it a few times, it may get a little lighter. I literally took it out of the box and threw it in the bag as I was leaving. But it's a great towel. I used it there. It's quite absorbent. It dries relatively quickly. So I wouldn't call it a fail. I would call it a questionable. One other thing that definitely isn't a fail, but that I wouldn't take again, I brought my binoculars. I bought these Nikon Monarchs just before I left. This is a beautiful set of binoculars. Holy freaking heavy, I'll tell you, halfway through I wished I hadn't brought them. That said, I also didn't have any whales or anything around to really see with them. If there had been more whales, this might have been a neat bit of kit to have with me, and it might have been worth the extra weight if I had reduced my food, which I was way over on. Another piece of kit that I didn't use at all was actually my bug net, which weighs nothing, so I would bring it again, but there was no bugs in September on the West Coast Trail. If you're going on the West Coast Trail in September, don't worry about the bugs. I can't tell you what the rest of the year is like, but that for the weight was easy to bring. Something I brought that I didn't use on the trail but did use on my trip were the sealskin waterproof socks. I actually wore non-waterproof boots, which I'll show in a minute. And these were the option. If it got really wet, I would have just worn these. But I didn't have any rain in 5 days. So I got muddy every day. My boots got wet every day. But I didn't worry about it too much, actually. And my feet were pretty good. I had very minor issues, previous issues that I have all the time. I didn't have a blister issue. But I did borrow my buddy's motorbike and ride around Vancouver Island and the city of Vancouver, and it was wet and cold. I wore these and feet stayed dry and warm, which is why I own these. Actually, this for my motorcycling days. So if you want to take a lighter pair of boots that are breathable, which I think is a better deal personally than a waterproof boot on the West Coast Trail, because every waterproof boot is only waterproof to the top of it, and once they get wet they never dry. And they don't breathe. I will admit that my boots never actually were perfectly dry, but they still breathe, which I think is good for your feet. So sealskin socks are good. So talking about the next piece of equipment, my Merrill hiking shoes. These are a non-waterproof breathable shoe. I cannot remember what version they are, but you can probably recognize them if you look at them in the stores. These were great. I've bought them last winter, used them all spring. I walked through the ocean, through rivers, creeks. Everything is still together. They're still a good shoe. I suspect I'll get another major hike out of them, no problem. Very good, very recommended. Other pieces of recommended equipment. I didn't have any rain, so I guess I can't say on this trip that this is very good rain-wise, but I did actually use it in the spring on Lake Temagami. This is the My Trail rain jacket. Previous to this, I've bought the Marmot Precip pretty much exclusively. This is a great jacket. It's got pit zips that do up both ways, dual zippers on the pit zips, so you can zip it from either end. That's really handy. It's got good zippable closed pockets that hold stuff, plus an interior pocket that'll hold your phone if you wanted it to. It's even got a little tab to hang it up that's Velcroed, so you can hang it onto something, or it has a ring on it as well. The hood is quite adjustable. It has Velcro adjustments on the top of the hood, as well as a grommeted pull cord on both sides, not just one. Storm cuffs that have multiple adjustments all the way around it, so you can do it up, and it's double strips of Velcro. I like that actually. It also has a good storm flap over top of the zipper. All in all, great jacket, very light, works very well. Another piece of kit that worked perfect for me, I use the Hydro Blue water filter as a gravity feed system. I bought the Knock Outdoors bottle, Vector I think it is, Vecto 2-liter bottle. So it's 2 liters of water. My hydration bladder that's in my bag was also 2 liters. So this kit worked great. The advantage of this over some kits is that the whole back of this opens up. It's super easy to fill it. You can fill it, lots of water, 2 liters in one scoop basically. And then hang the whole thing up. Helps if I go the right way. Hang it up, and then I had a simple tube on it that fit into whatever I wanted. I also had a smart water bottle. It's got an on and off on the bottom. Fill it up in camp, fill up my bladder, fill it up again, and then I could use it in camp for whatever I needed. It was a great system, weighs very little, worked perfectly. I didn't get sick, which some people did. Always treat your water with something. I think this was a lot more effective than the people with the hand pumps. I don't think they got their water any faster than I did, and they put a whole lot more effort into it. So Hydro Blue, plus for me, worked great. Another piece of kit that worked really well, I bought actually just as I was getting there, is an Optimus long-handled spoon. I used to have a Sea to Summit spork about the same length, but I couldn't find the spork, and they didn't have any long-handled sporks at Mac. So when I stopped into Mac to get my my fuel, I actually picked this up. It's a little pricey. It cost me $13, I think, but I'll be using it for a long time. The other advantage, because it's not a spork, I didn't worry about it ripping my bags when I was digging into my bags to stir everything up. It worked perfectly. It weighs nothing because it's titanium. I put a little clip on it so I could just clip it wherever I needed to, but usually I actually stored it in the top of my bag. Good little piece of kit. Essential Body Glide. Didn't use this the first day and paid for it. I ended up chafing on my butt cheeks really badly. I highly recommend you buy this and put it on every morning before you start a hike. Made a big difference to me. I probably would have had a hard time completing it. It may seem silly, but you chafe really bad in your butt cheeks. It hurts. This worked great, and after the first day, made everything fine. Another piece of kit that I bought just before leaving, I couldn't find my clip-ons. I wear glasses, so I bought some over-the-glasses sunglasses. These are ESP from Costco. They cost me $30. They may not be a fashion statement, but they worked fantastically. I can't say enough about them. I didn't know that I would like them. I thought they might bug my ears. They were actually fine. They worked really well. When I was in the bush, I just clipped them on my pack sternum strap. And when I hit the beach, very necessary. They worked great. Came with a little case. Can't beat them for the money. Hate to push Costco, but Costco wins on these. Another piece that worked well for me was actually my first aid kit, which the only thing I used it for, I got a cut on my toe and I tore off a toenail. And I did have a couple of hot spots. I took some Leuko tape that I wrapped around my toothbrush. I found the Leuko tape worked really well. Some people said they couldn't get it to stick to their feet. I got my feet dry. It didn't seem like it was going to stick, but you stick it on, hold it for a minute. Stuck great. Stayed on the whole trip from one application, beginning to end. For the one cut that I had some this had some kind of a gel on it, on this sterile pad. I would just cut little pieces of this out and I put it around my toe and wrap it in the Leuko tape. Worked better than a bandage because it's stronger, and basically that's all I would have needed to bring. I did bring some gauze and stuff as well in case I got a bigger injury, but this worked great. Weighs very little and gave me the ability to treat myself. Really basic stuff, hot spots that they're going to turn into blisters if you don't treat them. So as soon as you feel a hot spot, stop, treat it. Another piece of equipment that I found worthwhile while camping on the West Coast Trail was my pocket juice. Because I was filming everything on my phone, this gave me the ability to actually recharge my camera. This is the 6,000 milliamp one, which is more than enough for me to charge my phone for the week. It worked out fine. With my phone set on airplane mode, it actually didn't go through all that much. I was usually at 60 to 70%, but I charged it every night anyway. Lasted all week, still had 2 bars left. Great little bit of kit, weighs very little. It's about the size of a pack of cards. Slipped it in a Ziploc bag to keep it dry, but again didn't have any rain, so worked like a charm. Other pieces of kit that, as a suggestion that I would make, for those of you camping with a tent and using a footprint, I would replace your footprint with Tyvek. The Tyvek is a lot lighter. You'll save a lot of weight over most manufacturers' footprints. Works very well. I actually hiked my whole trip in a hammock that I made myself, with a tarp that I made myself, which worked great. If you're not a hammock camper, I would not recommend taking a hammock to the West Coast Trail. It is usually a little more difficult, although I found a spot in every site that I stayed at to hang. I also have a ground setting option for this if I had to. But if you're not a hammock camper, that's not the place to try it. I definitely would recommend you stick with a tent. And in fact, if it had been really windy and rainy, the tent would be a better option than the hammock as well. You'd be able to stay dry easier. I think I may have been in trouble if it had been really miserable. Just with the mist coming off the ocean every night, a lot of my stuff did get damp, but it was able to dry it. But I loved my camping kit. It worked out really well. Another little piece of equipment that I use a lot is my little butt pad. Weighs literally nothing, like a quarter of an ounce. I think it cost me $5. Buy it on Amazon. It's the cheap knockoff one. Works fine. I like it whenever I have to kneel down. My knees hurt, so just saves that. And if you're sitting on a log, it's just a little bit of cushion while you're eating your breakfast. So I would recommend that highly. It worked really well. Down to some bigger pieces of equipment. My poles. A lot of people say you don't need poles for the West Coast Trail. They are completely correct. I think they're silly. Poles will save you falls. I would say this probably saved me 15 falls easily. They also allow you to produce energy from your upper body while hiking, not just your lower body. So they actually give you the ability to go longer. These poles are the Cascade poles. I bought these on Amazon because I'm an idiot. Buy them at Costco. They're exactly the same thing. They're $30 at Costco. For $30, these are carbon fiber as opposed to aluminum. They're the cantilever lock as opposed to the twist lock, which are better. These poles as opposed to a Lecky, which would cost over $100 probably. Canadian. All my prices are Canadian. These poles are heavier, so that might be a little bit of a disadvantage, but for the weight, I still think these are a great buy. The carbon fiber doesn't bend. Now, it will shatter if you really catch it and fall on it. I saw at least 3 or 4 people with U-shaped aluminum poles because you catch it in the roots. Another suggestion I would make for that is when you're in the really thick of the roots and stuff, don't put your hand inside the strap. I would leave your hands outside the strap. Then if your pole gets stuck, you can let go of it. And A, it won't pull you over, and B, you won't break your pole. I use these constantly on the trail. I would place the poles, place my feet, place the poles, place my feet, and then when your feet slip, you've got 2 extra places holding you up. These worked really well. I did have 2 falls on the trail, neither of which these could help me on. One was really small. I just slipped on a log as I was getting on it. One was a complete turtle over a big log basically onto my shoulders into a mud puddle. Kind of sucked, but wasn't the end of the world. Highly recommend though, Cascade. I would go with the cork grip. I think if you get the foam grip will tear up on you, and it also holds sweat stuff. Cork grip worked really good. I did get a little blister on my hand, but it was actually from the top from pushing on the poles as I was coming downhill to balance myself. I'll take a little blister on my palm over slipping and breaking my neck. I used the duct tape that I wrapped on the poles. All that was really handy. A piece of kit that I can't say enough about, my Granite Gear VC2. This was I think it's the VC2. This was a great bit of kit. Yeah, it's the Crown 2, sorry. It's a 60-liter pack. It's a light pack. It's like 2.5 pounds empty. It's rated for 35 pounds. I overpacked this sucker. I had 45 pounds in it, which I didn't need all of. And I can't say any part of it failed. It worked great. I have one minor nick in the mesh pocket in the front, which is where I stored my my tarp, but nothing major. It worked fantastically. It has a lot of storage options. It has a lot of tie-down options. The whole front here is a mesh pocket. One little tear there. Each side has a mesh pocket. Worked well. I kept toilet paper and water bottle and my snacks on the sides. Kept my tarp, wet tarp in the back. It's an expandable top. It's not a waterproof pack, but it is water resistant. So it's a roll top style. Gives you lots of space. Easy to do up. You've got a double up strap that goes across the top. This gives you a couple of great options for tying in your rain gear stuff on the very top. The top of this is actually completely removable, so if you want to go ultralight, you can take that off, although I find it really handy to organize some stuff and it doesn't weigh much, so I wouldn't personally take it off. I like that it's removable. I wish it was reversible so the zipper was on the other side, but it is not. It'd be my only knock on this pack, really. And it's pretty minor. I put a couple of clips on here. I did a video explaining one of my tips, which was being able to put the poles into the axe loops on the bottom and then clip them into here when going up the ladders. It's pretty handy. So these little ultralight carabiners are very handy. These are the Camp Moores. They work really well. Well, it's got a full harness on it. The frame for this pack is actually a piece of plastic. You can actually upgrade it to a piece, I believe, of titanium, but this one worked fine for me. It's got zip pockets on each side of the waist, which was great. I actually had snacks in those and whatever I needed to get a hold of quick. In fact, my sunglasses fit on one side really well, so it had my sunglasses on that side. I usually had some granola and a power bar on the other side. Worked well as a sternum strap. Can't say enough about it. Great piece of kit. And that, I think, oh no, that's not it. The last piece of kit to go over would be my cooking kit. I love this. It worked so well. This kit, the bowl comes out of GSI Dualist kit. If you have the Singlist, it's the same concept. It actually fits in this Totes 500 pot. This is the Totes, I believe it's the 500, although it actually is a little more than that. Might be a 600. Oh, sorry, it's a Totes 750, it says right on. I have it with the handle so you can do it over the fire. I've never used it. In the future I probably wouldn't bring that, but it does come on and off nice and easily, so I don't have to have it if I don't want it. It's got handles, really handy. Inside it I have my MSR pocket rocket. Can't beat the pocket rocket. There are lighter stoves out there now. This one's still pretty light. It's durable. I've taken it on many trips now. As you can tell, the top's gotten a little looser, but I can bend that back into shape. Works great. Pot sits on there perfectly. Weighs very little. I keep the bag for it. Some people don't, but I don't want to get dirt in the bottom, so I left that like that. A little Bic micro lighter. Worked good. I brought soap. Waste of time. Don't bother. Just clean it with the sand. I never used the soap the whole time I was out. I did have another spork in it. I didn't need it, but it fits in my kit. It's a backup if somebody else lost theirs, weighs nothing. I don't know if I'd bother again, but probably would. Little pod holder, don't bother. I think it's a waste of time. I actually brought gloves, little dollar store gloves that are here somewhere, I don't know exactly where, that I brought that had leather palms on them. I just used those if it got hot, and then I also had them for the cable cars, which you'll want. Bring gloves, they're a good idea. I would suggest something with a leather palm. I bought them at the dollar store for $4, I think. They were great, but that's what that is. If it gets really hot, you can use that to pick it up. It also had hot lips. They're a waste, don't bother with those. I brought a transfer thing, I'm not sure why. I didn't end up bringing it on the trail with me. I actually left it at my buddy's place in Victoria, but that would let me transfer fuel from one bottle to another. My initial thought was I would buy a small bottle and a medium-sized bottle. In the end, I bought 2 small bottles. If I were to do it again, I would not buy 2 small bottles. I'd buy 1 medium bottle. It's a little bit less expensive, but more importantly, it's less weight because you're only carrying 1 canister instead of 2. It's not the size of 2 full canisters worth of weight. It's a little bit lighter, The only advantage of the single was it actually fits inside my cook kit, so I'd have my fuel in there and everything. I'd pull it all out together. Good for a 3-night trip because my fuel lasted for 3 nights. Anything longer than that, I think I'd go with the medium. Toques, good stuff. I also made a little cozy for it. This kept my drinks hot longer, which was good. Because this being titanium, it does actually dispense the heat pretty quickly. So I just had it like that, and I could sit it down and drink from it as the day went on. It held my coffee, kept it warm for a long time. I also made a little cozy for my food bags. I actually cook in Ziploc bags. I just flip this over. Called it good. Last review I have to do for my West Coast trip is the Aegis sleeping bag. I bought this based on reviews from a couple thru hikers on their YouTube channels. I was very disappointed with this bag. Now that said, it's only rated for 11 degrees. I've probably hit about 11 degrees in a hammock, which would feel considerably cooler. Might have worked on a ground setup, but it's a sew-through design, which means that every single sew channel is actually a cold spot because air can come through. There's not very much down actually in it either. It's worth about $100 Canadian. In my opinion, you'd be better off to put $100 towards a much higher quality bag or quilt. I would probably go with a quilt because I use a hammock, sleep in a hammock. But that pretty much wraps up my reviews. Hope you found some of this helpful. See you on the trip. Turning it off before you come up here and make fun of me. Hey!
Hi. I'm alone.
Last piece of equipment is the Aegis. Start again.
I just hit the side of the sink with the glass and broke it.
Hey, there's no surprise.
Not even that hard either, like...
So I took with me the Aegis
I have awful luck.
cold spot at every single one of the seams. It also does not have very much down. Never mind. Start again later when nobody's home. That's a review of most of the stuff I have. Worked pretty good. I can't really complain. Had a great trip. Hopefully if you plan on doing something, some of this stuff will help you. See you on the trip.